LA County Sheriff investigating new sexual battery claim against Sean. Diddy Combs breaking. What happens when a powerful empire begins to crack and the truth finally slips through the fractures? Once upon a time, no one could get close to him. He was the global star whose name opened doors for everyone. But by late 2025, rumors were being talked about in the news. His future looked bleak even before he went to prison for past crimes. But a new charge could change the ending of a life built on fame, power, and influence. This is the story of a new claim, a claim of sexual assault that could shock people outside of courtrooms. The findings have not been given yet. One man was once at the top, but now he's back in the sharp light. But what's more important is who talks and listens when the strong fall. In September 2025, a police report showed up at the office of a sheriff in a place that was not in Hollywood. A male music business producer and publicist made the complaint. He said that in 2020, he had been called to a warehouse in Los Angeles for what was said to be a photo shoot related to clothes that a late rap legend used to own. He says that something inside changed everything. The story says that once Combs got into the warehouse, he took off his clothes, masturbated, and told the producer to help finish the act. The accusation says that when the producer didn't do what Combs asked, he threw at him a shirt that the story said belonged to the late rapper. It didn't happen just once. The same story talks about a second alleged incident that happened in March 2021. The producer says that he was lured to a place by friends while his head was covered, and then he was questioned. According to the story, Combs walked into the room, called him a snitch, and beat him up. The accuser says he didn't say anything for years because he was ashamed, scared, or confused. Combs didn't feel compelled to come forward until he was recently found guilty and sent to jail. The time is not a mistake. Combs is already in federal prison for 50 months because he drove people across state lines to commit crimes linked to prostitution. In that well-known case, prosecutors talked about a shady pattern of drug-fueled meetings, forced sex, and power abuse that looked like glamour. He wasn't found guilty of the most serious charges, like sex trafficking and racketeering, but he was found guilty of other crimes. In the past, cases were about trafficking and forced commercial sex. This new case is about a personal act, abuse, betrayal of trust, and a power imbalance that took advantage of a creative chance. As soon as the police report came in, the local sheriff's office called on its Special Victims Bureau. Even though the accuser made the claim in Florida, the events in question were said to have happened in Los Angeles, so the court quickly changed its mind. The investigation could take a long time and be hard to understand as investigators reviewed files and tracked down contacts. At the same time, Combs's lawyers replied with a flat refusal. In a short public statement, they denied the claims completely and said that the claims were false and defamatory. They also warned against media-driven speculation. But legalities aside, the study is still going on. The evidence has to be looked over. Interviews with witnesses. It's necessary to rebuild memories that have been lost over time. Things that were illegal and were buried for decades may now come to light, calling for responsibility, or they may fall apart when looked at closely. The possible consequences are very bad for Combs. If the investigation leads to charges, he might have to go through more legal fights after his current prison sentence is over. Even though he is already in jail, new charges could add more time to his sentence and keep him in jail longer. While court times are important, the effects go beyond them. They say they will ruin any reputations that are left, bring survivors to light who have been quiet, and change how people remember fame as cruel. Right now, the victim and maybe even other people can get something hard to find, a chance to be heard. When you come forward, you have to deal with shame, attention, and doubt. It does, however, mean that status should not shield abuse. This case tests the guilt of more than one man. It tests whether people can question power, whether systems respond to new accusations even when the person being accused is already in jail, and whether victims of all genders and social classes can expect justice. A simple evidence versus crime story is not what this is about. This study is weak, uncertain, and hard for a number of reasons. The claimed crimes happened in 2020 and 2021, which is a long time ago. It's possible that evidence, memories, and witnesses have been lost or scattered. So far, there is only one accuser. The case depends on the testimony of one person. As other people have not yet come forward officially, privacy and secrecy. The accuser's name has been blacked out in public records. Remaining anonymous makes it harder for the public to put pressure on the person, but it also lowers the risk of abuse. Many stories have come to light because of the new claims against Sean Diddy Combs. On the one hand, the person who is being charged says they are innocent and that the accusations are completely false. On the other hand, there are already a lot of claims and lawsuits in the legal system, some of which are at odds with each other because high-profile countersuits have already been made. For some, the fact that Combs was already convicted may make the new accusations seem useless or even redundant. Even so, the law handles each claim on its own. Every accusation must be looked at on its own, no matter what happened in the past. In other words, a full investigation could lead to a lot of different results, such as charges being dropped, new charges being brought, a legal settlement, or even a full criminal trial. There is no way to know for sure until the court process is over. This case is important for more than just news stories and rumors. It has wider cultural and legal implications. This shows that fame, money, and power don't always mean immunity or quiet. Even though there was fear and hesitation for years, someone has come forward. This changes the balance of power in fields like music and media and shows that the court system could hold people accountable. The case also brings up more serious issues of faith, permission, and abuse. When ambition, creativity, and vulnerability come together in one area, it can be hard to tell the difference between chance and abuse. Businesses that are based on power and influence can sometimes hide predatory behavior behind contracts, outward signs of agreement, or the impression that the victim agrees. At this point, everyone's attention is still on the probe. A warehouse that was once used for a photo shoot, a producer's long-suppressed statement, and agents carefully going over old evidence are all parts of a story that is still going on. The accused, who is in jail for separate crimes, continues to deny doing anything wrong, leaving the public waiting for answers. The result is not clear. This case could be a turning point that reveals secret wrongdoing and changes the way people are held accountable, or it could just be another file in a long line of court cases. Courage, persistence, proof, and justice will make a difference. There is one thing that is clear. This is not just a scandal, it is a crisis. And after every big discovery, there's always the question, who knew? Who didn't say anything? Who turned away? Even though there is no such thing as guarantee, there is a chance that the truth, which has been buried for a long time in fear and power, may finally start to come out. If you want to stay informed as this story continues to unfold, make sure to subscribe. We're following every update, every detail, and every new development, and you won't want to miss what comes next.